Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Live from VRTO. I'm Justin Barjo, and I am Dr. VR. I have the pleasure of having Whitton Frank with me today as my third guest on my live streaming broadcasting of my podcast, Dr. VR. Whitton Frank, welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's good
So,
to
just to begin with, what brings you to VRTO this year?
be. Sure. I was actually here last year as well, but this year I have the privilege of doing a talk, or I just did a talk about the festival circuit and how one navigates that and the conferences, especially as a smaller company.
Yes.
And then tomorrow I'll be working with Jason Moore and Nicole Rigo of MetaMovie, and we'll be doing a workshop about how you create your own live interactive VR experience.
That's so great. And I heard that you specialize in live experiences in virtual reality or XR. Would you mind talking to us a bit more about this?
For sure. So my company, Ferryman Collective, we create narrative theatrical VR experiences that use live performers to interact with the audience to tell a story. So there is a script with a beginning and an end, but the audience has agency and they can affect the story, they can interact with the performers, and the performers will respond and interact with them in real time. So there, like I said, there is a script, but we rely heavily on improv and what the audience gives us to create a really wonderful, hopefully wonderful experience for the audience. They also get to interact with each other.
That's really cool. It reminds me of my PhD dissertation that I just finished writing not too long ago, because I really focused on embodying the image. I basically coined a term that's called spectatorship. So being a spectator and an actor in a narrative in virtual reality. So a little bit at the same time. Not only you're a spectator, because you're just like you're viewing, you're watching a movie. They like to call it a passive experience. Not really, but
Right,
that's what the academia says.
Yes.
And then actor in a way that you have a specific goal in the story.
Job.
Yeah. You can make things happen. You can change things, mold the story based on your actions. So what prompted you to develop something so great as what you have for us?
I certainly didn't do it alone, nor am I the first. But I had the privilege of being a performer in Tender Claus's project, The Under Presents, which was a VR game with a kind of open world aspect to it. And what they wanted to do as a promotion initially, it started as a promotion and then COVID and other things caused it to be a much longer thing, but was to have actors come on and inhabit some of the NPCs. So when the audience encountered these NPCs in the landscape, sometimes they were live actors and sometimes they were just NPCs.
Yeah.
And it created this really interesting environment. And the live actors were so popular, and Samantha of Tender Claus wanted to support actors, that when COVID happened, she kept us on with the company for the next 9 months, and even created an in-world theater piece, a solo actor in-world VR version of The Tempest. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was The Tempest in The Under Presents. And
Wow.
all of it was in. So it was like a show within a show.
Very
in
bold
the world of
move.
VR. Yeah, it was really cool. But that's how Deirdre Lyons and I met.
Okay.
And then she started working with some of the fans from The Under Presents, Braden Roy and Brian Tull, and they created the project Para, which was like a Halloween haunt. And that was actually the first show that Ferryman Collective did. And then they did an interactive Krampusnacht, and then they worked with creator Lindsay Scoggin to take her IRL immersive theater piece, Welcome to Respite, and bring it into VR. And that's when I came on as a producer and director.
Wow. For how long have you been working on this?
So I've been with Ferryman officially since 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're still a pretty young, small company, but we've accomplished a lot in that time.
So what have you noticed, like the evolution of that project? Because in 2024, 4 years in the making. So what can you see? What are the differences from 2020 to now?
Well, Just the accessibility of VR. I mean, so many more people have headsets now than they did in 2020. And weirdly, not that I want to say positive things about COVID, but that did help.
I was going to ask, do you think COVID played a huge part?
I do. I actually think for a lot of creators, suddenly we were forced, people were forced online and had to find ways to entertain themselves. And a lot of creators took advantage of that. I also think that VR as a medium was ignored a little bit by mainstream tech, and so that opened the door for a lot of different types of creators to create and make really interesting choices and very artistic choices in this medium. I would say that now we're seeing more of an interest from mainstream tech. They're seeing the possibilities, they're seeing the potential, especially since immersive and interactive marketing is so popular right now. And VR, I mean, that's what it's great for. It's great for interactivity. So I think one of the big shifts is we're seeing a lot more interest and investment from mainstream media and mainstream tech, which is good and bad, I suppose. For us, honestly, it just gives us more accessibility, and we've seen our projects go from something that we really had to fight tooth and nail to explain what it was and why it was important to people starting to just understand that right from the get-go.
I understand. So from a user's point of view, myself, a spectator, like I call it, I find it to be very liberating being an experience where you get to mold a story based on your choices.
Yeah.
I understand that there's some sort of a storyline that you need to follow, so everything makes sense. But then you get to change it based on your actions. So I'm wondering, as an artist like you, is it liberating or is it, overwhelming? Because it sounds very overwhelming.
I suppose a bit of both. I mean, immersive theater has become so popular, and there are incredible creators out there. It was going on for a while, but obviously when Sleep No More really hit, that whatever was going on at the time and figured out something that people wanted that was lacking.
Yes.
So as an artist, there's definitely a spice to that. There's something exciting there where you can really start to see the possibilities. And I would say particularly in VR, it's the combination of theater, film, and gaming. So you get, as an artist, that's very exciting. It's very titillating, but it is complicated.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that you have to be aware of, right? You have to figure out, in a regular theater setting or in a film, the audience is in seats.
That's what I mean by passive.
Right,
We're just sitting down and watching.
All right, we're not going to get into that. I don't think films are passive, but that's just me. Anyway.
Yeah.
But they're easy to control.
Yes.
Right? And immersive theater and interactive takes that away a little bit for the creator. So you have to find ways to corral the audience without them knowing it.
Yes.
And I would say there's an added level in gaming and in VR because we get a lot of gamers coming into our shows, and their instinct is to see if they can break the world. That's what they do, and that's okay, right? But we have to figure out ways to gently make them do or turn them in the way that we want to go. And there's lots of ways. I could, do a whole talk about that.
Of course, but it reminds me of open world video games. Lots of possibilities, but you still have to bring your audience back to sort of control them in a way.
Right. It sounds like a dirty word, but
you know what I mean.
Corral. Gently.
Exactly. What's your background now? Because I've seen a lot of people coming from the movie industry.
I come from theater and from film. I went to Carnegie Mellon for undergrad as an actor. Straight up, old school theater training. And it was definitely a journey, not one that I necessarily expected to get to where I am. But I actually spoke at Carnegie Mellon 2 years ago for an alumni award that I received there about how much Carnegie Mellon contributed to this happening in my life. That school is really wonderful with combining degrees and combining different disciplines so that people get to work together and do different projects together and meet people. Actors get to meet people in the tech school and the computer school and things like that.
That's really cool. So people react very well to what you do because, again, you went to school from an immersive theater background, film, and now you're bringing this whole tech.
Mm-hmm.
Your backpack seems very heavy. So,
Yeah, can be.
so how do people react at the school you went to and the people you talk to when it comes to, like, you received your alumni prize for this? So how are they receiving it? Because I feel like it's more of a classical training that you had. So bringing that aspect to it, or not?
Oh no, I actually think that CMU right now is very focused on bringing the future to their actors and really giving people the training that they need. I mean, I know that as of a few years ago, Carnegie Mellon was the only school that had a robotics minor. Yeah, a full. It may even be a major now. I'm not sure. But it's a really generally a forward-thinking school, and so I was glad to see when I was back there that the drama school was also starting to move in a forward-thinking direction, where they're giving their students training in a lot of the stuff that is how actors make their living today. You know, actors today need to know how to run a camera. They need to know how to self-tape. They need to know how to do motion capture and things. And these are the things that acting schools should be training people for.
Again, I see it as an extension of the work of an actor. I wrote myself a book about motion and performance capture in film.
Oh, wow.
Really, in French.
I want to read it.
I got to get it translated. Karen keeps telling me, you got to get it done,
Please.
But, I understand that at the time it was not very well received. Motion capture was mostly for video games.
Right.
And now Andy Serkis happened and brought the whole, art form of motion capture to the forefront.
Oh, yeah.
We're still waiting for a category at the Oscar for motion capture performances, but thanks to artists like you, I think it's being, dare I say, normalized?
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that, as I said, actors today really can't just be theater actors.
Yes.
Even if they're theater and film. I know actors on Broadway who are also doing films, who are doing TV shows and voiceover.
Wow.
You aren't just a theater actor anymore. You're not even just a commercial actor or just a television actor, right? The actors have to do everything, and I actually think that's probably true for even non-artistic careers, that you don't get to hyper-specialize as much as you used to be able to. People want you to have more experience. They want you to be able to see beyond just your specialty.
Yeah, it's funny you're saying this because it's the same thing in academia. Before, they were forming specialists in specific categories, but when they were asked questions about other aspects, they didn't really know, or they didn't want to,
to speak on it.
Exactly. But now I feel like we're really, creating wide specialists, with wide knowledge. Again, I have a PhD in cinema and media studies, but I come from a film studies background. Now I work with VR and digital cultures. So you broaden your landscape a little bit more.
Yes.
And do you feel like it's something that you want to continue doing, even broadening a little bit more? What would be next for you?
Ooh, man. There's, yes. I mean, we are still just on the bleeding edge of this.
Yeah.
We haven't, I don't think, tapped the full potential of what really can be done in MR, AR, VR, XR. Like, I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah,
it's like the early days of cinema. Those really early days where they're out in the desert trying to figure out how to use a film camera, right? And creating film, creating techniques. They didn't know, right? And it feels a little bit like that now.
We're only just not even 10 years in the mainstream resurgence of VR.
Exactly.
People are going to say that I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but again, cinema was born in 1895, institutionalized in 1913, and look where we are now. So It took 20 years for it to be institutionalized. We're not even 10 years in VR. Look at what we've done. We're sitting here talking about magic,
Oh, no. So I guess because of that, I think it'd be foolish to say, like, I want to stop now, because...
Oh, please don't.
No, but there's... Why would you? As an artist, I think it would be impossible to stop now, having seen the potential. And also to realize that it's not in competition with film. Film is great.
It's
I
true.
love film.
Yes.
And it's not in competition with theater. Theater is great. I love theater. And look, theater is still happening.
Yeah.
You know, when film came around, it was like, oh, the death of theater, right?
It's the
When
death
TV came around, it was the death of film. People love the death of something. But oftentimes it's not true, because if I want to see gorgeous, glorious Shakespeare on stage, I'm going to go do that. And there are many wonderful, wonderful places to do that. And if I want to see beautiful cinema, I'm going to go to the movie theater
Yeah, of course.
and do that. But if I want a fully immersive, interactive experience that I can experience from anywhere in the world, I'm going to go into VR.
Yeah, so it's just another facet of a medium that's
Exactly.
just exploding.
Right.
Cinema is very malleable. You know, now we make movies that are being streamed on Netflix. We don't even know if we have to call them TV movies
Right.
or
What
just
are they?
movies. What are they? But they're just things that we like watching. They're movies that are accessible to us. Now, of course, what do you think of VR headsets? Because VR headsets are they're not cheap.
No.
They're not easily accessible.
No.
So how do you do as an artist to make it through, to break through in an industry with your amazing ideas and artistry, to try to break through an industry that has so much potential, has yet to fully bloom, but then you have to deal with it from so many different aspects. I want to hear
Oh,
from
yeah.
this.
So, I mean, we have chosen to make our headsets available for the MetaQuest.
Okay, cool.
And we did that specifically because that's the most common headset out there. It's the most affordable, right? And they have tried, you know, to make their headset as accessible as possible. And I think they've done a very good job. The platform that we use to build our world's VR chat is easily accessible there, and also through PC VR.
Yep.
So that was a choice that we made, a conscious choice. You know, there are limitations, absolutely, to that headset. But again, if we want people to be able to see it, if
Yes.
that's the goal, then I think we made a smart choice. Headsets are interesting, right? Because there was a big focus on making them smaller and lighter and less noticeable. Okay. But then Apple made that wonderful commercial for the Vision Pro where it was like putting on the goggles, and I watched it and I said, God, that's smart. That's so smart. Because they're saying, actually, you need this hardware.
Yes, exactly.
You want it to feel like something.
Yeah.
You want to go into a different world. So I'm not sure because I'm certainly not an expert in the hardware itself, but I think it will be very interesting in the next 5 to 10 years to see what direction people decide to go. I mean, it's the same with video gaming, right? Like Xbox, PlayStation, you know, and there were many others for gaming, but obviously winners emerge at some point.
Of course.
So I think what a lot of people are waiting to see is which way everything is going to go. Will Apple make a more affordable headset?
Well, I feel like the
And-
Apple Vision Pro, I haven't tried it. I have yet to try it. I think it's releasing this month in Canada. I mean, $3,500 US.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money. Sure, it's great tech, but it's not for everyone. Now, I feel like the Apple Vision Pro is something like the first iPhone. Ridiculous pricing. People just want to,
They just want the cool tech.
they just want the cool tech, but they also want to know if it's going to work.
Well, right, it has to be more than an expensive paperweight,
Well, yeah.
right? I think the thing that MetaQuest, when it was Oculus, did that was very smart was right at the beginning when they released the One, they gave a bunch of creators, including Tenderclaws, who I mentioned earlier, $1 million to create content for them. That was so smart because then you bought it and you immediately had content. And I think that's going to be, you know, I don't know what Apple's plan is for that because they haven't said anything. Like, how are they going to get content that is going to get people on board?
Exactly.
You know, that's going to get people to put on the headset. I think that's probably the largest question for most headsets these days is what are you doing for content, for usability, for the user experience, right? Because as you said, it's your it's the audience, it's the spectator,
Spectacular.
the spectator's experience
Yeah.
that we must put first and foremost, because they're the buyers, they're the users. Without them, it's just going to fade away again. So if we're not thinking about that, then we're making a mistake.
Absolutely. So your experience is available on the MetaQuest?
Yes and no.
Tricky question.
Yes, tricky question, because it's live theater.
Exactly.
So it is, but only when we're doing shows.
Okay, so let me rephrase my question. How can we access your experience?
Right. So you can go to ferrymancollective.com and see if we are running shows. I think we just did a round of Gumball Dreams, but just like a theater production, you go to our website, you click tickets, you click your show date and time, you go buy a ticket, and then instead of going to the theater at the appointed time, or please like 5 to 10 minutes before, you put on your headset, you open up VR chat, and then we send you an invite to come into our world.
It sounds amazing.
I think it is.
Absolutely. Can you just remind us of the title of the experience?
Well, our company is Ferryman Collective, and we have our most recent successful title was Gumball Dreams. We also have a production called Find Wheelie and Welcome to Respite. All of them will be available through ticketed things at some point, probably next year.
Okay, so 3 experiences. So
And we're working on another one, but I can't talk about it.
Ooh. So a 4th one.
Yes, so
That sounds
our goal is to basically do a main stage production a year.
Okay.
What we term a main stage, where we're investing a lot of time and effort. We take it on the festival circuit before releasing it, making it
course.
available for public shows. So we treat it like a film premiere or
Okay.
something like that.
So
yeah.
when you do it, are you performing live at the festival and it's been transmitted online?
Sort of. Our actors are performing live, but they're usually not at the festival. They are at their homes,
I was gonna
everywhere
say
in the
their living
world.
room, yeah.
We have an actress in Taiwan. We have actors in New York. We have actors in Canada, in LA, and other cities as well. So the company representatives will go to the festival and run the booth, but the performances are happening elsewhere. The attendees are at the festival, and then we project what's happening in the world.
That's crazy.
I know.
It's amazing.
I know.
Probably requires a lot of headaches, and
It
to figure
definitely
things out.
requires a lot of troubleshooting, but
Yeah.
at this point, we've experienced, I'm not going to say every situation, but quite a lot of situations where we had to figure out what to do in the moment. Most recently, we were at the Amaze Fest in Berlin, which was extraordinary, and the curator Torsten gave us the privilege of showing our piece live on the main stage. So initially, it was just going to be me in world with a camera, while our two actors, we streamed them in, so that the filming of them live in as well. So you could see the actors IRL plus what was happening in world. And then we had guests at the festival in a different room. But,
That's amazing.
oh, it was.
Yeah.
It got even better, though,
I'm
because
sure.
one of our actors, Anna Zimmert, was in London at the time. And she called me and she said, why don't I just come over to Berlin? So then I got an idea, which is a dangerous thing as a creative. I was like, what if we had Anna on stage, live, really live?
Like real theater.
Yeah, and we're projecting her in world, and we have our other actors streaming in from Los Angeles.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we did it, but that was bananas, trying to figure out how to mic everyone. We drove the tech team nuts, but it worked out.
I have
And then
trouble
we had a
miking
full
my own
audience.
booth, so I
Right.
can only imagine.
Sound as always.
Oh boy.
But then we had an audience watching, just like a regular play. But they were getting to see all the different perspectives.
That's so cool. So when is your next show?
Probably not for a while. Unfortunately, there's stuff I just can't discuss, but
Of course.
we are working on our current show, and it's getting ready to go into rehearsals.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you're counting in rehearsals.
Oh, we definitely have rehearsals. I mean, honestly, in that way, it's very similar to live theater.
Yeah.
Because it kind of is. We have a rehearsal period. Instead of costume designers, we have avatar designers. Instead of set builders, we have world builders. But it's not we have a director, we have an assistant director, we have a stage manager,
Yeah, of course.
right? It's not that different. We're just using it as a starting point, right? And then going into this world where you, the audience, are the star of the show.
Where can we follow your?
Oh yes, our journey, our
yes.
whatever. Keep on.
I was looking
Yeah,
for
no.
the right word.
If you go to our website, ferrymancollective.com, you can sign up for our mailing list.
Okay.
There's one sent out every month. I know because I do it. And I think otherwise we do updates on our Instagram, which is ferrymanvr, or on X,
Oh yeah.
which is ferryman_VR. And then we're on LinkedIn as well. You just have to look up Ferryman Collective.
Whitton Frank, was such a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. This was really fun.
Well, yeah, when you hear experiences like that existing and the creator is right there, what can you do other than just inviting them over and have them to speak about their wonderful journey? Let's use a journey as a word.
It's a pleasure to speak with you and to meet with you. I'm excited to listen later. Thank you so much.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thanks, everyone. And stay tuned for the other amazing, great video live recordings live from VRTO. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.